Hi friends, in today's video I'm going to show you a couple of cards that I've made using our window sheets and stamping on them with our white craft ink. I'm also going to show you the difference of embossing on the window sheets and versus just keeping it just with the ink, and some tips and tricks along the way. So I hope you enjoyed today's cards. Let's start stamping. Today's card features the Season of Chic stamp set and their coordinating dies, as well as the tailor-made tag dies. I'm also going to be using some Whisper White ink and a window sheet for a fun technique. So this is a really simple card, but I think it's super cool, so I can't wait to share it with you. Now, before I get rocking and rolling here, I know that my ink pad is getting a little bit on the dry side, so I want to re-ink it. So I thought I would wait and film that because some of you may never have done this before. This is a very old style ink pad. I should really invest in getting a new one. You can see the edges are actually starting to go hard. There's a little bit of contamination with the different color there. This has been such a well-loved ink pad, but I like to get as much mileage out of my products as I know pretty much all of you would agree with that. So I'm still using this pretty much ancient white ink pad. I'm not going to bother putting any ink up here because it's not even going to absorb because it's hard up in that spot. But that's okay. So I am just squeezing my ink pad. As you've seen, I'm just dragging the ink along. Other people may do this differently. This is just how I've always done it. And then what I'm doing is I'm now pushing the nib of the refill, just kind of pushing that ink into the ink pad. So when we had our color refresh earlier this spring, and I was going through my ink pads, all of the ones that remained current, I made myself a cup of tea, might have been wine, I can't remember, but I just re-inked every single one since I was going through them anyhow, and it's been so awesome to pull out an ink pad and get such a bright, crisp, beautiful color, because it's surprising how much of a difference your ink pad makes when you're stamping if it's a drier ink pad versus a well ink pad. So just throwing that out there. If you don't already buy ink refills when you purchase your ink pads, something to consider. All right, let's bring in my grid sheet. I have a piece of Azure Blue, what color is this? Azure Afternoon, and it's 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. So I'm going to fold this in half. Okay. And I have a window sheet. Now our window sheets come 12 by 12. So I've just cut this to measure 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to make this card a Christmas card. So I'm going to use the snowflake. So I'm going to stamp this snowflake right on top of the that window sheet. And it's going to be slippery. So push down. Slowly, take your time. You don't want to wiggle it too much. Now, can you guys, let me bring this paper in. Look how bright and crisp and clear that is because it's been re-inked. Awesome. So I'm just going to repeat that, stamping it randomly. This is making me super happy already. I love it. And it is about 95 degrees Fahrenheit. I had to check with my Alexa device on that. So it's about 35, 36 here this morning. And I just finished putting laundry on the line, and let me tell you, it is so warm outside that there isn't anything better than stamping snowflakes on a hot summer July day. Okay, so I am really pleased with that. Let me pull this in. Look at that. Y arriba. I love it. Okay, now I'm going to take my white powder and just sprinkle it on those snowflakes. Tap it off. So I'm going to heat that up and put it underneath the blue so you can see what I'm doing. So of course, because it's plastic and it's not like paper, it does take longer for the embossing to melt, but it looks super cool. And while I was doing that, I remembered I had originally planned on using this image here for some snow. So I'm actually going to go back through and stamp a little bit of that. All right, I'm not sure if my camera was on when I was saying that this image here I had meant to stamp at the same time I did my snowflakes, and I had forgotten. So I just went back and did that. And then look at the cool Christmassy, snowy, wintry background that I have. And actually, before I move on to the next step, I'm gonna clean my stamps. Now I have to tell you guys, this Stampin' Scrub and Cleaner, Stampin' Mist, I have been using one of these since I joined Stampin' Up 2002. I love it, used it all the time, and for some reason, I don't know why, I kind of got away from it. Well, let me tell you, I know we have our Simply Chamois, but I started using this again a couple weeks ago, and I remembered why I love it so much. So I have misted my cleaner on this side, and now I'm going to dry it on this side. And it does not get any easier, and especially when you're working with an image like this that has all those little nooks and crannies, my gosh, it just makes it so easy to clean. Okay, and I'm just, since I've got this out, gonna give my block a little wipe. And if you ever have any goop on your clear blocks or ink that's not coming off, I actually use the Stays On cleaner more often than not for cleaning my my blocks, and that really works well too. And there's a bit that's not coming off, so I'm just dabbing on a little bit of my Stays On cleaner. So that's what I do, and it works really, really well. You just want to make sure you get that residue off, because you don't want to leave that on or your stamps won't stick. Look at that! Tina has a clean block. How often does that happen? Honestly, not very often. To be honest, not very often, but yes, best stamp cleaner going. I love it. All right, now we're going to move on to the next step, and that is going to be making some tags. So I'm making 2 cards in this video, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out 2 tags. So I already have my basic white cardstock. Now these measure 2.5 by 4 1/4. So this was already in my scrap pile. I just cut it in half so that I can cut out my tags. Now this is a great set of tags. We've got the 2 different shapes. I am going to use this one here. All right, so we'll just position that on, cut that out. I love this little machine. I love both my die cutting machines, but this little one, boy, is it ever handy dandy. So there's my tag ready for my ribbon. Gonna set that aside. Now this one, for the second card, I'm going to use one of the other shapes. Now I don't know if that will fit. Oh, yes it does. Okay, let's cut that one out, and we'll use this one on the second card. Okay, I have another piece of this Azure Afternoon cardstock, and I'm taking my embossing buddy, and I am stamping my snowflake on this. So I want to make sure I don't get embossing powder where I don't want it, right? So let's grab that snowflake again. I'm using my Whisper White again, and these are going to be die cut. Whoops. That back on. There we go. Okay. So I'm not sure how many I'm going to use, but I'm just going to stamp the whole panel, and what I don't use today I can use on another card, or of course a Christmas tag. So I'm going to grab my white powder and set that with the heat tool. So once that's set with the heat tool, just make sure all the powder is gone, everything has melted, and take your clear Wink of Stella, and that is going to add some real pretty shimmer to these snowflakes. I'm going to cut these out with my dies. I only need 3, so I'm just going to cut out 3 right now, and I'll put the other ones aside for another time. There's my snowflake. So this one's off a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that. If that happens to you, don't feel like you have to do it again, because you can overlap your snowflakes, so it's still going to look fine. All right. So I'm bringing my mat back in, my grid paper, and my tag. And I'm going to do something pretty cool using this die that's part of the same collection that I've already been using, and I'm going to use this as a stamp. I use my gray granite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this right down on my paper, and I think I'm just going to hold that in place with my scissors. You can see I'm getting lots of ink on my scrap paper, but that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flop it on just like that, and I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, put it on, and then just give it a little rub. And this is going to give my tag a really neat background. You ready to see what it looks like? I know I am. Let's see, what have we got? We have a really cool background. So a little bit more ink here than maybe what I wanted, but I'm cool with that because I can put a snowflake or something on it. So let me just make sure this is clean before I put it away. Now I'm taking the wishing you the best birthday ever stamp. Now remember, this is going to be a Christmas card, so I'm going to try something that is pretty cool. So I'm going to take the stamp, ink it with my black, and I'm going to stamp that kind of in the middle right here. In this stamp set, I have the sentiment, you make each season of life even more beautiful. I just want to use the word season. So what I'm going to do is I already have it on my block. I'm bringing in my basic black marker, and I'm just going to go over the word season. And this is called omitting. So we are omitting the rest of the sentiment and just pulling out that word. And I love doing this. Whenever I'm looking at stamp sets, I'm always looking at what I can pull out and what I can omit, and boy, does that ever make your products go a long way. And I love combining them. It's so much fun. Okay, so I think I got it all. And half on the ink, make sure it's wet, stamp it down. I'm gonna hold it for a minute, make sure that that ink really gets in there. Oops. So it is. Now you can see I didn't clean that stamp very well, so I have a little bit of the other words. That's okay, and I will show you why that's okay. So I'm going to cut this out into a rectangle. See, there's just a little bit of black ink there. That is fine. I'm going to put that onto my tag using a little bit of the foam adhesive sheet. I'm going to cover up the word birthday. So it's kind of covering up the word ever, right? Well, that's okay, because I'm going to bring that first stamp and stamp it again, but I'm only going to ink up the word ever and cut it out just like I did on the word season. Now, of course, you could pull out sentiments from other stamp sets and just stamp that on, but I just wanted to focus on this one stamp set. And even though it doesn't have a Christmas stamp set per se, or a stamp sentiment per se, you can certainly tweak it and make a holiday card. So I'm just lining that up right like that. Look at that. Now it's time to add my snowflakes. I'm going to glue this one on, and I'm going to put dimensionals on the other ones. So these snowflakes were from our online exclusives. So I'm going to put, actually I want a gold one. I'm going to put a gold snowflake in the center of each of these die cuts, because I'm also going to be using gold twine on this card. So that's going to tie it in. Now some beautiful rhinestones. Next up, I'm bringing in some gold and silver twine. What I am doing now is I am folding those over, right? So my tails are at the end, and I'm going to squish this up and poke those both through the front of my tag, pull it through the back, open it up, and pull my ends through. Okay. And I will trim this once I put it on the card, because I'm not sure yet how long I want those tails to be. So let's pull in my card base. Now, before I put the window sheet onto my card base, I want to put my tag onto the window sheet first, so that I can put the adhesive directly behind where that tag is, which will put the window sheet onto my card, if you know what I mean. So let's grab some dimensionals. I'm also going to put, a dimensional behind my snowflakes, or at least that one. I think the other ones are okay. I know, I get dimensional happy. I know, some of you are probably saying, holy cow, how many dimensionals do you need on that tag? But I don't want my tag to be like flopping on the side. I want it to be well raised off my card. So I know I want this on a slant, so I'm just going to slant it right here like that. Alright, now I'm going to flip this over. You know what, I'll just use my foam adhesive strip for this bit. Just going to cut that out and put it right behind. So I could add glue and glue this directly to my front panel, but I'm just going to get just that more dimension. And in case you're wondering, because I didn't really specify, but the embossed, this is the front, like this is the raised embossed. This is flat and smooth on the front. Okay. So those adhesive squares are hidden behind that tag. Pretty slick. I just realized I forgot my vellum tag, so I am peeling that off. Keeping it real, guys, keeping it real. And I'm going to slant this over to the side a little bit. And squiggle on a little bit of glue. I'm not going to put glue over on this side because I want that vellum to peek through. This is, you know, about as keeping it as real as it can get, forgetting to put my vellum behind this. Just to add a different, you know, little bit of extra dimension. Okay, and now this can go on my card. I am using the Azure Afternoon with my snowflake to stamp inside the card. Now for the inside, I'm simply just going to use my pen, which, bling, glitter, love that. I'm just going to write Merry Christmas, wishing you the best season ever. And there's my Merry Christmas. And then of course, I'll address it and, you know, make it a little more personal, but I wanted to add my handwriting because there's handwriting in there, so I thought that would work. Looks super pretty with that background, the shine, the die cuts. So now that you have seen how this card comes together, I am going to make the second card using the same product, but I'm using Real Red, and it's just our standard 8.5 by 5.5 folded at 4 1/4, and I'm going to use the flowers. There you go, 2 more card ideas for you. I hope you give this fun technique and card layout a try at home and have lots of fun stamping. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and the little bell next to it so you're notified every time I upload a new video. It really helps my channel, and I just appreciate you all so very much. Take care and happy stamping.